The 2000s, the decade that made me who I am. From waking up every day and playing PS2 like my life depended on it, watching shows like Malcolm in the Middle, blasting 50 Cent and Eminem, and of course, falling in love with the WWE. This was my decade, this was my childhood, and wrestling had the biggest impact on my childhood. Like, I learned everything from wrestling. What it meant to work hard, what it meant to be the ultimate opportunist, what love was. Kind of. Raw and SmackDown, the matches, the storylines, and of course the pay-per-views from the 2000s are what made me the wrestling fan I am today. And I'm so happy that it was the 2000s that I grew up in. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get nostalgic. Get some tissues ready because I may or may not have cried while making this list. This is my childhood. Hell, this is our childhood. These are the best WWE pay-per-views of the 2000s. First up, the year 2000. So, what are the best pay-per-views of 2000? All of them. Like, legit all of them. 2000 is arguably the best year in WWE history, so no doubt the pay-per-views were amazing. So even the ones that I don't mention, they were a blast, but these are the best of the best. First up, the Royal Rumble 2000. MSG, 20,000 fans screaming, Mick Foley and Triple H casually dying. It doesn't get better than that. Triple H versus Cactus Jack is one of my favorite matches of all time. The night that Triple H became the game. One of the most special matches we've ever seen. Triple H bullied poor mankind for weeks, so Foley had to do a little switcheroo, and at the Rumble, Cactus Jack brought the pain like he was Method Man. Mick Foley living out his dream, wrestling at MSG for the WWF title, stealing this show, putting on a classic, Triple H cementing his name as a legit superstar, so much violence, so much fun, a match that nobody will ever forget. Add in Jeff Hardy tweaking as usual, along with a fun Royal Rumble match with a botched ending and too cool dancing, Taka Michinoku going bye-bye. Like, what more do you want? A true legendary pay-per-view. 2000 is the best year in WWE history, so you would assume WrestleMania was amazing. Well, that's why you don't assume, because it was so average. Shout out to the Triangle Ladder match though. Instead, in 2000, the real WrestleMania was a show called Backlash. See, this show was filled with good matches. Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko versus Scotty 2 Hotty ended up being this amazing match, but the main event was god tier. In one corner you had The Rock, in the other corner you had Triple H, both in their primes, in their peaks for the WWF Championship. Add in all the fuck shit of the Attitude Era you could possibly imagine. The Stooges, Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon's wild facial expressions, Earl Hebner drama, Linda slapping Steph, and by God, the loudest Austin pop of all time. Austin, Austin, Austin. Sorry, I had to go JR mode for a second, but yes, it was magic. Austin making his first appearance in months to help The Rock, Rocky walking out as the champion, one of the best endings in pay-per-view history, and honestly one of the best pay-per-views in history. 2000 was just too wild, just non-stop bangers on bangers. After Backlash, there was this pay-per-view, Judgement Day, and it was like, how do we ever top Backlash? Or how do we come close to it? And they were legit like, why don't we just take The Rock and Triple H and just put them in a 60-minute Iron Man match? And GG, that's exactly what they did. The Rock versus Triple H for 60 minutes, 11 total falls, pins, submissions, DQs. Oh, and you know what? Shawn Michaels is the referee, just no big deal. Jim Ross going mental for the entire 60 minutes. And just when you thought it couldn't get more crazy, like what more could they possibly do? This happened. The Undertaker appears on a motorcycle, comes to the ring, and just claps everyone. If you're a WCW at this point, what the can you even do? What, like, just shut it down. Just shut down the company. I don't even know why they waited until 2001. That was just the main event, by the way. This show had Benoit versus Jericho again, a tag team tables match. The WWF in 2000 was like Prime Shaq, unstoppable. Even the most random pay-per-views, like Fully Loaded. If there is one pay-per-view I would assume to be just whatever in a year, I would say Fully Loaded, but that's why you don't assume once again. Fully Loaded featured Triple H versus Chris Jericho in a last man standing match. That match is such an underrated match. The real ones know though. Triple H was bleeding like prime Ric Flair. Jericho showed the world that he belonged on the big stage. It was so close and Triple H literally won by 1 second. The Rock took on Chris Benoit in a fantastic match where Rocky showed his wrestling skills, Undertaker versus Kurt Angle, and to top it all off, Rikishi did this off the top of a steel cage and somehow lived to tell the tale. Mind you, this was just a random pay-per-view in July. This was supposed to be a filler pay-per-view before SummerSlam. And speaking of SummerSlam, well, it also turned out to be one of the best pay-per-views of the decade. The first ever TLC match. This match broke all the barriers, all the bones, and it changed everything we knew about ladder matches. These men became legends on this night. WrestleMania 16 was cool and all, but this just took everything to the next level. Add on Shane McMahon doing Shane McMahon things, and of course in the main event, the classic love triangle of Angle, Stephen, Triple H with The Rock as champion. SummerSlam hit on all the levels. It was a true SummerSlam. It felt like a big event. 2000 was just the WWF at its absolute best. I haven't even mentioned No Way Out or Armageddon, which, you know, it just had a 6-man Hell in a Cell, the only one in history, no big deal. If there's any year you should ever binge watch in wrestling, it's 2000. So the best pay-per-views of 2000, the best of the best: Royal Rumble, Backlash, Judgment Day, Fully Loaded, and SummerSlam. 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the holy trinity of legendary pay-per-view runs. It goes a little something like this. Everybody and their mom knew at WrestleMania 17 it was gonna be Austin versus Rock, but the question was, how are we gonna get there? And it was legit a movie. Act 1, the Royal Rumble 2001. This featured a top 3 Rumble match of all time. It had Kane going God mode, interferences, weapons, and of course Austin and Rock face to face, both men in different corners just teasing us, tables being broken, celebrity appearances. I don't know if it's the best Rumble ever, but it's definitely the most hype. The moments, the crowd reactions, the time period, it's amazing. When Austin wins, the arena legit explodes because everybody knew that one half of the Mania main event was set. And then on the same night, Benoit and Jericho had a classic ladder match, one of the best IC title matches ever. Oh, and you know, just for the WWF title, how about Triple H versus Kurt Angle? You know, just in case you needed more reason to order the pay-per-view back then. And then Act 2. Okay, so the next month, No Way Out 2001, Austin and Triple H had a rivalry going back to technically 1999. Because of Triple H, Rikishi
did it for The Rock.
Because of Triple H, Austin got hit by the car. So here we were at the conclusion, the finale, and it's not a normal match. Nah. Why would it be a normal match? 3 stages of hell. Austin versus Triple H, and they tore the house down for 40 minutes in 3 different matches. Top 5 Stone Cold Steve Austin match of all time. But that wasn't even the main event. Nah. Rock and Angle went at it, and they had so much chemistry, and at the end of the night, it was clear. WrestleMania 17, it was going to be Austin versus Rock, WWF title, which brings us to act number 3. WrestleMania 17, what most consider the greatest wrestling pay-per-view of all time. 67,000 in Houston, Texas. The entire world is watching the end of an era. Austin versus Rock, the main event, the 2 absolute best, along with Shane versus Vince, Triple H versus Undertaker, TLC 2. You could argue that wrestling peaked on this night. So 2001 was looking amazing after the first 3 pay-per-views. 3 classics in a row. WCW talent was being brought in. Austin as a heel. So much excitement. What was gonna happen? And The Rock went to Hollywood. Triple H got injured. The invasion got botched. And in 2001, everything collapsed. It wasn't 99 anymore. It wasn't 2000 anymore. But even then, there were some solid pay-per-views. I remember watching this match on YouTube in like 240p split into like 7 different parts back in like 2008. Good times, man. Good times. 2001 wasn't bad. It just wasn't 2000. The holy trinity at the beginning of the year was just so epic that they needed GOAT tier pay-per-views to compete, and they just couldn't. The expectations were just too high. Shout out to No Mercy 01 though. But when looking at the best of the decade and what 2001 gave us, it's the Rumble, No Way Out, and WrestleMania 17. 2002, oh what a year. The year the WWF became the WWE, and the year they had the brand split. So from January to June, the company felt so different compared to July to December. The first 6 months was this confusing, what are we doing? What do we do? Oh my god, we're losing viewers. Okay, Triple H won the main event of Mania. YOLO, make him lose the title to a 48-year-old Hulk Hogan. Oh, Ric Flair is the fan favorite Raw general manager. Let's turn him heel. Like, it was a mess. So messy that Austin was like, yo, I'm going home. I don't need this shit. Regardless, WrestleMania 18 will always hold a special place in my heart for Rock versus Hogan, icon versus icon. Well, that Mania could have been so much better. The first half of 02 had some fun matches. However, there was no big must-see pay-per-view other than 18 for Rock versus Hogan. But once June and July hit and Eric Bischoff became the on-screen general manager for Raw, and once Paul Heyman began writing SmackDown, it was a wrap. First up, Vengeance 2002. The main event was Kurt Angle versus Rock versus Undertaker. Top 3 triple threat match of all time. A certified classic. 3 goats in one ring. All the finishers and kickouts you can imagine. Dave Meltzer considers this the best triple threat match of all time in the WWE. That's how elite it is. RVD and Lesnar had a great match. It took some time, but we finally got an elite pay-per-view 6 months into the year. But the best part is it only got better and better from here on out. When I think of 2002, I think of 2 things: the Spider-Man movie and SummerSlam 2002, the greatest SummerSlam of all time. A perfect pay-per-view. You knew it was going to be special when the first match of the night was Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle. Rey Mysterio's first WWE pay-per-view match, and they put on a clinic. The mid-card was stacked. It had Eddie versus Edge, Benoit versus RVD, Jericho versus Flair, but the 2 main events, oh man, the return of HBK. Shawn Michaels was back wrestling. No big deal, just the return of one of the greatest wrestlers ever. For the first time since March 98, HBK was about to wrestle in the WWE. Many thought he would never wrestle again, that his career was over, done, finished, injuries, personal issues, it was over. But here he was back against his former best friend Triple H in a street fight, and they put together a match that goes down essential in both men's legendary career. Top 5 SummerSlam match of all time. My personal favorite SummerSlam match of all time. I could legit watch this match forever and ever, and I will never get tired. The return of an icon. And then the main event, Rock versus Brock. You want a match with that big match feel? You want a match between 2 stars? Brock Lesnar, by this time, less than a year into his career, he had already had that aura, that presence. He was already a star, and here he was up against the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, actually in entertainment, and what a moment. He held his own. Never forget the double kip up. The next big thing was here. This pay-per-view is just beautiful, top to bottom perfect, and then as 2002 went on, we just got more and more awesome shows. No Mercy 2002 was so good that even Katie Vick couldn't ruin this. Brock was now the champion, but now he was up against The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell. It was brutal, it was violent, it was awesome, but the match that I'll never forget from this show, my favorite tag team match of all time, Angle and Benoit versus Edge and Rey Mysterio. This is legitimately my favorite tag team match of all time. I never thought that a pure tag team match would have me going crazy like this one. Never thought tag team match could be this awesome. This match was perfect. This really showed me how special tag team wrestling could be. And then to end the year off in November, Survivor Series 2002, Madison Square Garden, the first ever Elimination Chamber, the Saliva theme song playing in the background. I have chills already. Yo, just, oh my god, the nostalgia is too much. Heyman turned on Lesnar, Scott Steiner made his debut, SmackDown 6 at their best. The second half of 02 just hit so different. I loved it. I love late 2002 with a passion just injected into my veins like Scott Steiner steroids. Holy shit. Okay, calm down, WrestlinGifs, calm down. So, the best pay-per-views of 2002, Vengeance, SummerSlam, No Mercy, and Survivor Series. 2003, the Ruthless Aggression era was in full effect and the 03 Rumble was fire. Benoit versus Angle. If you ever want to just watch some wrestling, watch that match. I mean, you got 2 of the greatest pure wrestlers ever just going at it. I mean, what do you think is gonna happen? And the Royal Rumble match itself was just so good. Jericho carried that match like it was his baby. So many cool interactions. Definitely an awesome pay-per-view. But you know, we don't talk about Steiner versus Triple H. I don't know what you're talking about. Me no hablo inglés, por favor. Sorry, nope. But when it comes to pay-per-views in 2003, there is one true classic, one pay-per-view that to this day just brings a smile to my face when I think about it. I know it, you know, everybody knows it, he, she knows it. WrestleMania 19, Stone Cold Steve Austin's last match ever, and it's up against The Rock. My bad. Hollywood Rock. Hollywood Rock is my favorite gimmick ever. Him and Austin trading finishers in a beautiful Safeco field. Rock with Austin's vest on. It was such a perfect way to end Austin's career. The Rock finally got his W against Austin at WrestleMania, and Mr. WrestleMania Shawn Michaels returned to the big show, and him and Jericho put on a classic. Old ass Vince and Hogan killed each other and bled like Niagara Falls. Brock Lesnar somehow walked out WWE champion after he did this. What a night, what a show. WrestleMania 19, as you already know, is elite. But after WrestleMania 19, the WWE was very interesting to say the least. See, because of the brand split, in June, pay-per-views became split too. See, before you had stacked shows like No Mercy, now you had Raw pay-per-views with Rodney Mack wrestling. What the So because of this, you had a lot of forgettable pay-per-views, or pay-per-views with like 1 or 2 good matches, or Vince McMahon beating up his daughter on live pay-per-view while his wife watched. What a time it was to be alive. However, there was one pay-per-view that really showed how elite SmackDown was during this time. The first ever all SmackDown pay-per-view, Vengeance 2003. Brock Lesnar, Angle, and Big Show, they all have amazing chemistry with each other. Triple threat match, it was fantastic. They tore the house down. Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero to crown the first ever WWE United States champion, and they do what they do best. They wrestled and they put on a wrestling clinic. The world's greatest tag team took on Rey Mysterio and Kidman, and yo, this is one of the most underrated tag team matches ever. Please go and watch this. Rookie Cena took on The Undertaker and held his own. It was truly a fantastic show. SmackDown was so much better than Raw in 2003, it's actually crazy. SummerSlam and Survivor Series, they were really solid, but all in all, when looking at the best pay-per-views of the decade, and you look at what 2003 contributed, it's Royal Rumble, WrestleMania 19, and Vengeance. 2004. By 2004, the WWE roster was lacking. Eventually, Brock and Goldberg were like, you know what, we're going home. Kurt Angle was injured most of the time, and they did an angle where he almost died. Rock and Austin were not there. Triple H didn't want to work Tuesdays. It was rough. However, there were still some awesome shows. Royal Rumble 2004 was elite. The match itself has been erased from history, but go back and watch this match. It's a top tier Rumble match. On the same night, HBK versus Triple H in a last man standing match where both men had to be carried out. But then the next month, we got something so special. The legendary, the classic, the iconic No Way Out 2004. No Way Out is truly a one match show. You don't remember anything else from the show, but you don't need to. This one match is just, you know what it is. It's pure emotion, it's pure magic, it's wrestling at its best. It's Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. This one match made the show. The night where the impossible happened, the night where Eddie Guerrero did it, the night where his dream came true, and one of the most special nights in wrestling history. Angle, Show, and Cena had a triple threat which was solid. Rey versus Chavo was good, but the main event is one of the greatest main events in WWE history. Such a special moment and such a special night. Simply iconic. And then WrestleMania 20, where it all began again. A show that was almost 5 hours and somehow didn't put you to sleep. Live from MSG, it was electric from the beginning. Cena FU'd the Big Show and became United States champion had officially arrived. Undertaker came back from the dead, and his entrance alone was worth the price of admission and the price of the pay-per-view. Eddie and Angle had MSG eating out of their hands. Goldberg and Lesnar got destroyed by the crowd, but it was a beautiful mess. And of course, the greatest triple threat match in WWE history, in my opinion. And then the most beautiful ending in wrestling history. I get chills just thinking about it. Two best friends, 20 years in the business, finally made it to the top. Two men who were told they would never make it to the top. You were too short, you're too this, you're too that, you don't have it what it takes to be a main eventer. But here they were in front of a sold out MSG closing out WrestleMania 20. And then in 2004, we got Backlash. The night that Cactus Jack met Randy Orton. The night where Randy Orton became a man. A classic. A match that I'll never forget. The definition of star making is this match. And also the main event was a rematch of WrestleMania's main event. Once again, now in Benoit's hometown. He put it off again. This time, HBK tapped out. As the year continued, we got some solid pay-per-views like Vengeance, some pretty bad pay-per-views like the Great American Bash, and some decent pay-per-views like SummerSlam, some fun pay-per-views like Survivor Series where Randy Orton clutched it again for the second year in a row. A personal favorite show of mine. Not the best, but it was such a fun show. 2004 had everything going against it, but it somehow, some way, it was such a fun and memorable year, for me at least. The best pay-per-views of 2004, Royal Rumble, No Way Out, WrestleMania, and Backlash. Whoa, and we're halfway there. This was part 1 of the best pay-per-views of the 2000s, the best shows from 2000 until 2004. If I forgot one or two, I'm sorry, I did my best, I tried. You know, you can't have them all. I'm trying to make the list, you know, short and elite. Looking back at these brings so much nostalgia and so many memories. I can't wait to do 05 to 09, but for now, these are the best pay-per-views from 2000 until 2004 in my opinion. So what is your favorite pay-per-view from these 5 years? Let me know below. Part 2 is coming shortly. See you guys around. Thank you for the support. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you dislike it. I'm out of here.